when I'm walking down the street.
I do want to say to Doni and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
my head up.
I'm from South Carolina, so I
gotta be you.
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Mars?
Oh, my heart,
Happy 20th anniversary.
my heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? John.
Gotta be me and gotta be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself. There's a
The doctor lived next door to the janitor to the reverend and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Doni, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it all the more.
letting His glory shine through. Gotta be you, gotta be me, gotta be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
First name's Doni, last name's Glover. Entered the winner for the long haul, baby. Oh, it's about to get hot in here. All right, we're going to bring her straight on up to the get down. Sonia Eaddy, running for Baltimore City Council in the 9th District. Good morning, Sonia Eaddy.
Good morning, Daddy Glover. How are you this morning?
Do you know the first person that told me about you was Stacy Smith?
Okay. I
You remember
that.
Stacy Smith down there at Coyle?
Yes.
She is the one who told me about the fights y'all had, what y'all had to deal with, how you had to stand up against big old behemoth monsters like the University of Maryland. She told me all about the games, how they were trying to trick black people out of their property, about a black developer. I won't say his name. You can say the name that was not being straight up with the community, but let you tell the story. Why are you running for city council?
All of that, what you just said above, living down here in Poppleton, first of all, just being a native of Baltimore City, being born and raised in the 9th District, and seeing all of the challenges that we have here just alone in this part of the neighborhood that I live in, Poppleton. And just not understanding how come a city would not come in and talk to its residents, and just seeing what the residents' priorities are, and what their needs and desires are for our community. And rather than having that happen, they come in and impose whatever they want on us, and it's like you either deal with it or leave. So those are the challenges that after fighting for my house, the city taking our properties over here, what Stacy was sharing with you about the eminent domain. We lost so many homes, so many families, so many businesses in this neighborhood, and now it's just a void. It's just a big void, And now that the city has done this, we want the type of development that we want in our neighborhoods. And so getting the city to hear us, but noticing what we was experiencing here, I found out through my fight that going and talking to other neighborhoods, going to other neighborhood community association meetings, and also nonprofits, and just learning that this issue is not just in your neighborhood. This is happening in our neighborhood too. So the city seems to deal with us in silos. As long as they can keep us separated, as long as they can keep us divided, then they are the winners. So recognizing that it's time for us, the neighborhoods, the communities, to take a stand and take our power back. We vote these officials in, but yet once they're in, they do their own thing. And so now it's time to have someone on the inside that's going to listen and value the voice of the people. So this is why I'm here in this race. Can't no longer continue to wait, for somebody else to come and save us. We have to save ourselves. So this is a we the people thing.
So talk about your house. I mean, how did it feel when somebody's trying to take your house?
It felt to me like a death, because once things are gone, it's gone, and I used to attend First Apostolic Church over in East Baltimore. So we had to ride over to East Baltimore to church, and just to witness, that devastation there, that those families over there. And I kept saying, I didn't understand, but when I heard in 2004, when the city came to us and over here in Poppleton, that was one thing that I vowed that what happened in East Baltimore, the people in that neighborhood will not happen here in Poppleton, and I really felt like I lost the battle because other than myself, everybody else is gone. And so it's devastating, and people don't understand the impact that it has on an individual's life, that it cuts your life short. We was able to get in contact with some of the residents, the neighbors who, were displaced. Some of them became homeless. One man, Mr. Thurston, as soon as he got his property, the money for his property, he moved back home in Virginia. By the time the money came through and he got his property, he died within 3 months. So we've heard stories now of how it affects, people's lives, the stress, that people endure. These physical things, aren't talked about. They just look at, they paid you off, and it's not a payoff. It's a force.
I went to one of those meetings, Miss Eaddy, and I gotta tell you, and let me just plug my book. That way you won't be sidetracked. This is my first book, Unapologetically Black, and this is I Am Black Wall Street. So yes, I do write about Black people, and it's not always well received on social media, but that's their problem. But you had to deal with there's the University of Maryland,
Mm-hmm.
there were your white residents,
Mm-hmm.
and there were your Black residents, and you were one of you correct me if I'm wrong, I think you were one of the few homeowner residents where many of your neighbors were in po homes. Is that right?
No. So the houses that were taken were home owned and city owned properties. So the pole homes is what they're doing now. That's a whole nother development that's about to happen now.
Oh.
Yeah, these were privately owned properties. And
So they
then
took most of those people's homes, but not
yeah,
yours.
it was over 150 homeowners. And then that's not counting the business owners, that were all displaced. And not only, and the problem with all of that is that Poppleton's boundaries expanded from Mulberry Street to Pratt Street, from Green Street to the east side of Curry Street. So what they did was they put a dividing line of Baltimore Street. So they took West Baltimore Street, the northern side where the population is Black, and the southern side where it was mostly white. They divided us, and then they preserved the southern side, the white side, and the Black side is where they came in and demolished.
Now, who was the mayor?
At the beginning of this, it was O'Malley, but it was Sheila Dixon who was mayor when the developer was vetted. So this was a developer who, out of the 5 developers, he was the last in that equation because he didn't have the experience, the finance, and he had never done anything of this magnitude. So he was last. When Sheila Dixon came into play, all of a sudden, the community associations heard that they had found the developer, and the vetting was over. He was selected. The city then put in a PUD, which is their planned unit development, where they can now change it from what it was originally homeowners opportunity. So the city was supposed to have brought back 1,000 plus townhomes for home ownership and 300 plus townhomes for affordable rentals. That changed when Sheila Dixon came in and this new developer, Lassite, was chosen, because now they get to put all apartment units. So the
They
new
lied?
Say that again.
So they lied.
Yeah, they lied. And this is what would upset the community association back then, who came into this agreement that did not actually ask or communicate that throughout the neighborhood. So we didn't even know that there was even a negotiation going on about our houses, first of all. But then for the city to lie to the community association who was at hand at that time, that this plan was going to be one thing, which they thought was improvements, and now you telling us that now no, it's going to be your plan.
So damn, it seemed like y'all were let down by the Dixon administration.
Yes, we were. And not only let down by the Dixon administration, when this developer had been given 3 extensions. After that, Graziano, who was a housing commissioner, said that he wasn't going to extend another, give them another extension. And so he wound up coming up with the financing. They got rid of, Graziano was gone. They came up with some financing. But before the financing,
because Graziano sucked. I mean, he was horrible.
Yeah, but the thing about it, he saw something in this developer that if you had asked for 3 extensions on trying to obtain financing, there was a problem there.
Well, people didn't seem to be pleased with Lassite. All I remember is saying, they kept telling me he put up a paper building.
Yes, it is. And then he couldn't even have his open. He couldn't open because he had water issues. So there was mold, mildew, water problems right off the bat. So the city wouldn't even allow him to have his opening.
Now
that went on for over 6 months.
But the city is complicit with this water problem, to my understanding, because there's some pipes underground that need to be replaced.
Well, they gave him a $56 million TIF bond for infrastructure. So we don't see where any of that money has funneled into the community. It's all based around.
Replace any of them big pipes?
Evidently not, because right after he opened, we had the issue with the pole homes water. And they was without water for over a week.
I remember that. They had to bring water down there to pole homes.
Exactly. For over a week.
And wasn't somebody coli in there?
Say that again.
Was there something about E. coli in the water?
No, not here. That was across, that was across the bridge. But they couldn't use the water. It was a water main break.
Okay.
And and they just couldn't. So a lot of those residents had to be displaced from the pole homes because of the water main break and because of the conditions of, the pole homes. Their pipes and stuff was already old.
So tell me about this dividing line, the white community from the black community. I mean, I thought segregation was over. I thought even though Baltimore is the home of segregation, going back to J. Barry Mahul in 1910, you're telling me that in the 21st century, it's still here?
Yes, it is. And this is the monster. This is the problem, because we had been able. Okay, so on the southern side is where Highlands Market is, and so there was no racial issues, with us down here. I grew up here. There weren't any issues, but they created this. They made this an issue the way they came in to do this development. When you preserve a side where it's predominantly white, you preserve the houses, you protected them, and now they're even considered a historical district.
What?
Yes, so they're a historic district.
In a majority black city with black elected officials everywhere, you telling me we don't have any power?
None. And this is one of the challenges and why I'm running, because we were the majority in the city. And so to have the majority politicians black, the city population was black. And now with all the improvements, all of the development happening throughout our city, our black neighborhoods are the ones who are continually being disinvested. Or if we're not being disinvested, our voices aren't being heard. So whatever is happening in our neighborhood is being dictated to us. It's just being pushed on us. And again, either we accept it or you don't want to live with it any longer, then go. But even with the disinvestments, if we're calling 311 and we're trying to get out here and make a difference in improving our neighborhoods, if no one's answering the call, you're going to get tired of living in these conditions. So that's, for me, that's another force out. If you don't like living in these conditions and you're a taxpayer, you have to up and move just because you want a better quality of life. These are the things that the city has been imposing on the black community, and it's time for a change.
Who spoke up for your community in all that time besides you?
No one. I started a homeowners association. I just started a group of us homeowners when I learned back in 2004 what the city was planning to do. And when they told us that, all of the homeowners whose properties were going to be taken, I just formed a homeowners group, and I had to do a lot of investigating to find out what was the process, what they call, I can't think of right now how they move you out and how they pay for all of this. But trying to get our homeowners.
Domain?
No, that was the process. But when they give you, so is that fair market value for your property, that they give you. But at the time, I was trying to share with our homeowners that we have to look at why they want this property. We're on prime real estate.
Damn right. You right next to University of Maryland. Everybody know that.
Interstate. When you come in, we got 83. We right here at the interstate. We're the gateway.
Damn right. Just like East Baltimore and Johns Hopkins.
Exactly. So this is
University of Maryland, they seem to get all kinds of, even when they locked up Catherine Pugh, there were other white men on that board who broke law, and they still didn't go to jail. Now, I'm not justifying Catherine Pugh at all, but I remember they didn't say anything about these white people on the board whose hands were bloody, dirty.
You're right. And those were things that, I try to follow, and how, even though we have black politicians in place, who are they more
beholden to?
Yeah, beholden to, because when you make promises or you take money, then you have to behold to someone. They want theirs back. And so, I just see this was something that, and I'm gonna go in on the Sheila Dixon issue real quick, because when this development changed, it changed from what that LDDA, that land disposition agreement, was originally, like I said, from the homeowners, and that was the agreement that they made with the community. when with Sheila Dixon, she was able to get sponsored by Susan Taylor, who was the Essence magazine editor,
Attitude.
and so Sheila made front page on it. And then on top of that, so this whole development plan here had changed. Susan Taylor has housing design. I can't remember the state that is in, but this development changed to resemble the Susan Taylor, or be named after the Susan Taylor, housing design. And then when Lassiter, the developer, had his grand opening, Susan Taylor, was there and did the ribbon cutting, and gave speech. So that connection has always rang here in Poppleton to why are we first of all losing our homes. I'm talking about properties, some of them hadn't been built, a new development. They was like 30 years old. And because there were empty properties, a part of a vacant lot on the other end of the street, they took a whole block of houses that were like 30 years old, brand new, and that was sold for to homeowners, and just to increase the land mass for this developer to be able to build these large apartment complexes. And this is why when they came up to my block, it was the same thing. Where there was vacancy, they took the land, on houses on the where there were a lot more of vacant land. They came in and took whole blocks from people, just again to increase the land mass, so the developer could have more space to build. And that administration didn't put any protections, on homeowners or the business owners. And where were you going to go with a fair market value? If your fair market value back in 2004 was anywhere from 5,000 to the higher end, I would say 50 to 75,000, where were you going to go but to what they call a blighted neighborhood? Where were you going to go but to another blighted neighborhood? Or like many did, because we've never had that lump sum of money before, moved into the county or moved into places where after a few years they lost their homes because they couldn't afford it. They put the renters in a 5-year rental agreement where they paid the rent. Okay, so what happened to these renters after the 5 years when you now paying $1,000, $1,200 for them to rent when they was paying $300, $500? Now they gone, and you don't go back. You don't
what
care
about
about
the
their
white
lives.
people? What about the
Right?
white neighborhood? What happened over there?
It didn't happen. Nobody was displaced. Not one person was displaced from the white side.
So let me just ask you. I guess you're not supporting her for mayor.
I can't afford to go backwards. That's been one of the fears, even to Brandon running and winning last term. It was one of my fears because that administration has supported this developer. Jack Young was a strong supporter. When we came up with our own Poppleton plan back in 2016, right after Graziano wasn't going to give him another extension, we were told from the city planner we need to come up with our own vision plan. We created a plan. We presented it down to Jack Young's administration. Down, they invited us out to City Hall. He didn't show up. The developers were there, and they said that this is their development.
Why Jack ain't show up?
Jack didn't show up.
Damn, Jack.
Yep, that's how we felt. Damn, Jack. You threw us under the bus. And we have been there since that point. So that's when the fight just got more intense, having to make sure I'm at the hearings, city council, and just pushing, to get the awareness, to what was really going on in our neighborhood, and I actually learned that city planning, and this was after the fact, that city planning department, that board never knew, the truth of what was going on, because every time something came past zoning, that they were told that it was a minor change. And because they pushed it through, the city was pushing it through as a minor change, they never went back and did any history, or any investigations on what it is that they really need, thinking it's just something that they need right now to push through. But these were major changes. We were asking for them to stop the acquisition, stop taking our properties. They had to extend the acquisitions were expired. You have 4 years. Every 4 years, you have to resubmit that. And so it was expiring in 2018, the end of 2018, I believe it was. And going to a hearing, the planning department had no clue that that if they had allowed that to expire, that the city would have had to start the process all over again, which would have really gave the community another fighting chance, because they would have had to go back and do research.
No, there was no lawyer for the community?
None. And that's what they preyed on, our ignorance. Nobody knew about eminent domain. We didn't know. When I had to hire my lawyer in 2020, my lawyer came out and I showed him the devastation. He was like, wow, what happened? Why didn't y'all come together like a class action suit? We did not know. We thought that showing up at the hearings, that's all we heard, showing up at the hearings.
And Sheila Dixon was the mayor.
Yeah, she was the mayor.
Damn, Sheila.
So I can't feel in my spirit, really, that Sheila would do right by us, because there is a relationship, with her and this developer. There is a long-term relationship. And even though when she wasn't the mayor, to understand, the predicament that we were in and hearing the fight, she never stepped up, on our behalf. And when she was running last term, they had where you could call in, and I called in and I brought up Poppleton, and they brushed me off. Oh, we'll be reaching out to you, like off air. Like, okay, haven't heard from her, and so again, I don't, as much as I used to like Sheila, I lost all confidence in her when it comes down to not just because of what happened to Poppleton. I lost confidence in her moving forward and development in all of our Black neighborhoods, because it's too much. It's too many eyes on Baltimore City right now when it comes to investment, and we have too many developers and big investors with money, who's supporting, her in this fight. So no, I don't have the confidence.
You don't like Fox's reporting of the news in Baltimore?
I had a story that was going to be printed out. We had a series of stories back in the end of 2023 that were in the Sun paper. And the last story that was supposed to have come out in November, it was telling the story, partially what I'm talking to you now, about the part that Sheila Dixon and that administration played in this Poppleton development.
Oh, they
that
didn't
story
run it.
got killed. They killed it, and I found out, that, well, I seen that the Sun paper, the owner now of the Sun paper is the same owner of Fox 45. So it was like, okay, that he endorsed Sheila, and now, he owns the Sun paper, so now the story got killed, because the story was coming out, and then she got in the race, and yeah, so the story was killed. So you don't want anything that's gonna harm your campaign, but let the truth be told. When you came in and you asked for, forgiveness, for your past, but you have not come to Poppleton, and I know she wanted to come here to do a campaign, but we don't need you to come here and do a campaign. We need you to redo the harm, the wrongs, that you've done to us over here in Poppleton.
It's getting hot in here. We talking with Sonia Eaddy. She running for Baltimore City Council in the 9th District. So tell me about the campaign. How's it looking for you out there?
It was hard getting started. You know, I followed on the final day, and just getting set up and not
You're coming
understanding.
out of one war, saving your house.
And I'm still in the war because what they're trying to do with the pole homes, you know, the pole homes transformation. They want to now, what we're seeing in our neighborhood is revive the Lexington Terrace projects, you know, in a form of modern day apartment living, you know, luxury apartment living. They want to
You know, the only problem I got with all of these fancy terms and luxury this and luxury that, are black people gonna be there? That's all I want to know. Are black people gonna be there? Because we saw what happened over there at Hopkins. You know,
don't forget now,
they displace black people. Up Park Heights, they displace black people. I remember they sent black people out to Hillcrest years ago. So we see what happens because we know this is the majority black city. 63% black, 73% black and brown. Black people everywhere. We know this is the last East Coast city to gentrify.
Yes, there you go.
Although we see white addicts everywhere.
Yep.
In the black community. Well, so pick it up from there. Where are we going from there?
This is what they're doing with the pole homes. So everybody knows that the pole homes, like Douglas and all of the rest of them, are low-rise units with 2 apartments, you know, inside of one building, and the style of row home, you know. And so what they want to do is move these residents out and place them in what we are considering high rise. They're considering, you know, low rise because they're talking about 3 to 5 stories. But if you are warehousing, you know, 50, 75 people in these units of public housing, and then on top of that, you're talking about building 5 of them, you know. For us here in our neighborhood, we're looking at that as, again, concentrated poverty, you know, why I say luxury, because they're talking about, you know, they're going to have hardwood floors and granite countertops and, you know, stainless steel appliances, all of these things, but you're still putting young families with children inside of an apartment unit where they don't have their own entrances and exits. You're talking about long hallways again. You're talking about stairwells. You're talking about elevators. You know, all of these things which we've already lived with. We understand what that does in the long term, you know, or what that looks like. You know,
sound like projects to me.
Future projects.
After all of the Flag House, Lafayette, Lexington Terrace, Murphy Homes, after all of that implosion, sound like projects to me.
Sound like that's projects to us. Even with the La Cité buildings, we talked about those as becoming future projects. In the 3 years that they have been here, we've had police calls. All you see was police cars on a regular basis, right? We had the water issues, you know, the mold, you know, the trash compactors. There was issues with their trash compactors. So their tenants was complaining about the smell. You know, we had people, even though they had a 20% subsidy, the subsidies they could not afford, you know, the rents, you know. And then not only that, because his water bills, they don't have their own individual water lines. So they are being estimated. So and then he connected it to their rents. So if you have your rent this month, but you don't have your water bill this month, you get an eviction notice. So several people have lost or just up and moved out of fear of eviction because of not being able to afford the water bill and then you got a fee of $150 to pay for parking.
Lasate is a black man.
Lasate is a black man. Nobody believes it when we complain. You would really think that we are over here trying to get rid of a white man, a white developer. But no, this is a black developer. A black developer who came to the community to help fight for him a TIF bond.
From some other state.
From New York. This community has backed this man, supported this man because of his blackness. When he was failing, when he couldn't get that timeline with his investments, it was the black people, these people from this neighborhood that he came to and asked for support letters, to send out to his investors, so that he could get this money. All these promises that he made to this community to support him. And then he turns around and we just say, kiss his black behind.
I'm proud to tell you that I got a phone call one day that said, we want you to meet Mr. Lasate. He wants you to help do some marketing for him. And I called Nicole Orr. And Nicole Orr said, if you take that contract, I'm going to bust your goddamn head. And I said, okay, no problem. I will not partake in that at all.
Even right now, it's been a promise of a grocery store. That was another thing, that they use for.
That should be a no-brainer because you need a grocery store no matter what.
Well, the mayor now did a press release back in 2021, and the community is still waiting. And to come to find out that and this was a black market, but to come to find out that it was a pop-up, but it was something that they was trying to bring from Prince George's County to Baltimore City. Excuse me, because they recognized, that Baltimore City was this food desert. And again, we're
I'm
not
mad at the University of Maryland because University of Maryland was complicit in all of this. They could have made it a lot smoother, a lot easier, but because they're so damn racist, as is evident as to what happened to Catherine Pugh, and nothing happened to them white people on the board, this is just indicative of the historic and racist nature of everything at University of Maryland, from their hospital to their law school, that we had to sue so that we could go to law school there. They have an audacity that's beyond this world. Shame on them.
A lot of the issues with, even with the University of Maryland. So there is a nonprofit organization here that's called the Southwest Partnership. I know if you're familiar now.
I get their memos all the time.
Okay. So that's 7 neighborhoods that have come together for one voice to help improve the whole community, right? And they are anchor institutions. So the University of Maryland holds 4 seats on the board. And the problem that we have,
that means they have the majority.
Right. So when you're talking about the Poppleton community, the University of Maryland, when they came across the MLK, they came into Poppleton. Again, I told you the Poppleton's boundaries had extended from Marbury to Pratt. So now, even though they divided us to Highlands now and Poppleton separated, when they came across the MLK, it was Poppleton's neighborhood, that they entered.
Now they y'all spokesperson.
And we get no investment from them. We was trying to open up our rec center. I was looking for the key to open up our rec center that had been closed for 2 decades, right?
What's the name of this rec center?
The Greater Model Recreational Center.
Greater Model. I used to lift weights down there.
The Greater Model Rec Park and Pool.
They did not reopen Greater Model?
No, we had to go out and get private investment money. Instead of investing in our rec center and park.
University of Maryland wouldn't invest in the rec center.
No, what they did was when they heard.
And they don't pay no damn taxes. They would be off my rolls. I'm telling you. Them and Hopkins. You don't pay no taxes.
So this is another organization that I'm a part of now that we're trying to get on the
Damn
ballot.
shame.
That these large institutions, if you are in these communities, that either you pay taxes, the city or make them pay taxes, or they have to put that investment, that tax money, into these neighborhoods in which they.
Why do these white institutions feel they don't have to pay? Why do they feel like they are privileged where they can live off of poor black people? I don't hear you saying y'all are multimillionaires down there. Where do these welfare mentality people come from? Because that's welfare. You want something for nothing.
I think that this comes also from our city officials, because
we need to get them out of there.
All we hear is the city keeps telling us that they are broke. You're broke because you're not accepting taxes from these big institutions.
The memorial, the baseball stadium and the football stadium got renovations. But we got schools, including Poly and City, with no air, no heat. $15 billion has come through that Maryland State Lottery since 1973. And it's a damn shame they won't give the kids basics. These are some hateful, diabolically evil monsters. And 9-1 Democrats. Democrats.
Yes. That's why
you tell me about Hogan, I'm going to tell you about these Democrats.
This is why I was an independent. I run independent. I had to choose a side in order to run in this election, but the problem I've seen,
Democrats,
our Democrats does not treat, it's
they
citizens.
take black people for granted.
Yes. And we don't
Oh, I'm a Democrat. I'm a Democrat. The hell with that.
But it's time for us to really pay attention. This is a wake-up call.
I'm gonna support somebody that keeps stabbing me in my damn back.
But
I wasn't raised like that. You do me wrong, we got a problem.
But the way that we solve our problem is that we just stop voting. That's became the problem.
You gotta vote them out.
Right. And that's what out here now, that's been my hardest strategy. As soon as I knock on somebody's door or, go to talk, oh, here y'all come. Only time we see you is election time. Every politician, what is you going to do? Y'all don't do nothing for us. And I had to tell them, I'm not a politician. I'm a grassroots resident advocating and fighting on your behalf, just like for myself. I'm here to represent y'all.
I wish you were running for mayor.
This is my everyday life, my family's livelihood, just as it is yours. So this is why
I wish you were running for mayor, because you're the kind of person I want to see out there. Somebody that understands our pain and somebody that's going to even it out, because the rich white institutions want more and more and more, and they give us crumbs. And we can't even say unapologetically black in a majority black city. It's like we have to be ashamed of our blackness. And where the preachers at? You know what? I tell you who I wish was alive. I wish Earl Gilliard was alive.
Earl Gilliard, he stepped up for me, when we was doing this fight. The city came in. We had scheduled, to have that meeting that I was talking about, that homeowners group. They saw the city and they saw us growing. We had scheduled a meeting down at Morning Star. The city showed up and the church locked their doors on us. As people were coming to the meeting, they locked their doors on us. Earl Gilliard opened his doors and said, Sonia, bring them up here. Y'all can meet up here. Bring them up here.
The church locked its doors?
The church locked its doors because the city was using that church. That's where they were having all of their meetings in the neighborhood.
Who was the pastor of that church?
He's deceased now. I can't remember his name.
Shame on him, whoever the hell he was. But Earl Gilliard, that was my man, 500 grand. I'm glad to hear good things about Reverend Earl Gilliard.
Yes, he was. He supported our plight over here.
What are they afraid of? What are black people afraid of? I mean, my God, I just watched the movie over the weekend about Harriet Tubman. Do we think somebody's going to put us in chains or something?
We're already, they done put us in chains. we are, even with this development, we are frozen over here. We feel like we are just in a confinement because we have no voice. You install a voice, and again, when you call 311, this our services, our city services has gone to nothing. When they took away the extra trash day, it's like the alleys, the bulk trash is so many things that just plagues us in this city. The Black community. And what I've just found is like we sit around and we talk about it, we complain about it, but now it's time to put action behind it. We can't continue to allow them to step on our necks like they have been. We can't afford to have them to continue how they treat our children, how they have robbed them of an education, how they have robbed them of a youthful life with no playgrounds. They can't even go outside. Now kids, it's a punishment. When my grandkids are here and I say go outside, they outside for 5 minutes, don't know what to do, don't know how to play anymore outside because of the fear, what they done to our seniors, putting a fear in their hearts, of not being able to even go outside. So it's the devastation and all the harm that they have brought to our Black community. And we have to take a stance. Enough is enough. We will not endure another 4 years of what the city has imposed on us for the last few decades that we have had Black politicians in place. If you're not going to do what you're supposed to do for us on the behalf of city residents, it's time for you to go. I don't care about your name, your family history, your background, where you come from. If you're not going to do right by the people, especially the legacy people who have lived here, has suffered through all of the disinvestment here in this city, you got to go.
The only thing worse than white privilege is Black privilege. Miss Sonia, take a moment and give your final spiel before we get up out of here. I'm going to give you the screen, and we thank you for joining us. We are so proud of you for being the fighter you are. Do not give up. Keep my number. Whenever you need me, I will come. I will bring the cameras. I will do whatever you ask. Keep fighting.
Thank you, Doni. A lot of things that I just talked about, that are issues that I really, want to address. But a lot of it is dealing with our young people, and also the laws of the injustices that has plagued us as a Black people. That power of eminent domain. The city uses their power of eminent domain to come into the Black neighborhoods through urban renewal plans and take our neighborhoods, demolish them, and gentrify them. And we are not the ones that are able to remain here. When we talk about how we've lost that the population, in Baltimore City, a lot of that population that was lost was Black people, and so I would like to bring back those Black families who were displaced, and not only were displaced, but those who chose to move because of the conditions that were happening in their neighborhoods. In the juvenile justice system, rather than the city putting money into investing in our juveniles, they put money into investing in prison, so to put those investments back into our youth, through youth empowerment, job opportunities, skills, and trades. Those are things that was taken away from us. Annual youth works, reentry programs, entry programs, addressing the substance abuse, the epidemic that we have, with the drugs and the violence. This is an epidemic, but it has been for Black people. But as soon as it started affecting white people, then it's considered an epidemic. But putting the resources in place, and trauma. Our Black people have faced a lot of trauma, that has caused, which is causing a lot of this youth behavior. And so addressing their traumas and just making sure, like our public utilities, our street lights, and making sure that we're able to have good water. Our kids can't even drink water in the school systems. We can't get good water out of our faucets anymore. But addressing these water issues and bringing solar panels and making sure that everybody has access to the internet. Our public safety is dark in our neighborhoods. Increasing the lighting. We have poor lighting, and so that's poor safety. Just addressing a lot of the issues that we really see and deal with on a regular basis. Our educational system, working with the schools and also the police department, making sure that we can bring back those relationships that we once had with community and law enforcement. They used to visit the schools. When I was in elementary school, the police department, the fire department, all our public service, they used to visit the school systems. So again, building relationships, reform, the highway to nowhere, the vacancies, the high vacancy issues that we have, addressing this and where we can bring the rents and home values, where we can control that narrative of what these properties sell for, and giving the opportunities first to the legacy homeowners, their families, versus investors and developers. So these are things that I strongly also believe that the community should take the lead, the community's voice, because we are the ones who live here, pay our taxes, know what we want, know what we need, know what we desire in our own neighborhoods. But being able to come and sit down at the table with the city officials, your council person, being able to sit with the city officials so that they can create a community plan, a community vision plan, and having it implemented, with the city, but making sure that the neighborhood's voice is there throughout the process.
Why didn't you quit?
I couldn't quit.
Why not?
One thing, this house is my family's home. This
you could
is
have quit.
where
You could have took the money and moved to the county, to another state, but you stayed. Why'd you stay? You saw white people coming in, University of Maryland helping the other people. You left by yourself. The black politicians left you hanging. Why'd you stay? Why?
Because I live here. I love my city. I love my neighborhood. I could even chose to move up to Reservoir Hill, one of my desired neighborhoods. I could have chose to move into Union Square, another desired neighborhood of the housing, the housing style. But this was my home, and nobody should have the right to kick you out of something that belongs to you.
In a majority black city, we got one of the highest percentages of black elected officials anywhere. But you can have a black governor, a black attorney general, a black treasurer, a black speaker of the house, a black mayor, a black city council comptroller, a black state's attorney, and still have no power.
So that's why we have to take our power back. I go off of the scripture. When you take it back, and when you take it back by force, we have to take it back. And how do we take it back? We have to get out. We have to vote. We have to show up at the polls. And not only after showing up at the polls, we have to bring that accountability. We have to continue to show up.
Yeah.
And bring that accountability to whoever your politician is. Call them out. If they're not showing up, call them out. And I agree with that bill that was put in place, that you should be able to be impeached. If you're not doing what you was elected to do, you shouldn't have that time to be able to do a full term and wait for a replacement. You have to do your work, when you hit that office. You're being paid. I've been volunteering. This has been a volunteer services. I have not gotten.
Who did you get that from? Who was your mama, your granddaddy? Who put it in you?
God put it in me. My mother was a fighter. My mother was the first. My mother was the first who started a black woman with her Reddit's transportation company. My dad was an Arab. My dad had businesses. I used to Arab with him when I was in elementary school. I used to go out on the weekends in the summertime. I loved it.
I can't. Give me a sample. Let me hear something.
No, I was a cute little girl riding on the wagon. So when they come out, they say, "Oh, you got a little girl," So yeah, I was a cute little girl riding on the wagon, But I loved it, And he had his own horses and wagons where he employed, young black men. He paid for everything, and so
Your
they
daddy?
got paid. Say that.
Your dad? That was your daddy?
That was my daddy. He's in the archives with the as one of the founder Arabs here in the city of Baltimore.
What's his name?
Donald War, Donald China. He was known as China out there. Donald China War, and still living. He just turned 89 in January.
You got to bring him
One
on
of
the
the
show,
oldest
Miss Eaddy.
living.
You got to share him with us on this show.
Yes,
I am
he's
proud of
phenomenal.
you. I am
Thank
proud of
you.
you. You make me proud to live in the 1100 block of North Carlton Avenue. People say to me all the time, "Why you live there? Why don't you move to the county? Why don't you do this?" When I see white people moving in houses just down the street.
Yep. I'm a city girl, born and raised. I love inner city living. I love being able to, sit out on the front and talk to my neighbors. I loved it when I could send my kid to the store, the corner store. Now we don't have corner stores, but these are things. We was out campaigning yesterday. My daughter, we was like, we thirsty. Like, where is no stores? My mom, what happened to all of the corner stores? Family businesses. They are taking and they putting these large apartment complexes and they're putting this retail on the lower end. We are taking away entrepreneurship, for young black people who had businesses that now you can't afford it because you can't afford the square footage, of those units, these apartment units. So again, it's another lost opportunity. You used to could live over top of your business, and now you can't. So
I
there
gotta
are a
ask you
lot of
this,
things.
Miss Eaddy. Y'all about to touch my heart. Y'all gonna make me cry up in here. Who is this man right here? Curtis Eaddy.
Oh, that's my son. I got my son and my husband. Which one you talking about, senior or junior?
Well, it don't say. It says the 9th district deserves a fighter, and then he also put up Sonia Eaddy for Baltimore City
That's my
Council.
son. He's my campaign manager, Curtis Eaddy Jr.
Well, Mr. Eaddy, you make sure you give him my number because we gonna do our part to bring you back on this show. You got these lines all lit up around here, Miss Eaddy. We thank you for loving our city, and you have inspired me to stay here a little bit longer because sometimes I got vacants all in my block. And you know who I see fixing the houses? Latinos. And a black person gonna come up to me and say, "Well, we don't need no immigrants fixing houses." Yes, we do. We need whoever gonna fix these damn vacants to fix them. I don't care who you are, and I don't use the word immigrants because last I checked, unless you were indigenous,
we all
and a lot of black people are, but they just from down the block. How you would call them? Telling people from Poland and across the water, that's some immigrant.
There you go.
We kill me. It's a book by Paulo Freire called Pedagogy of the Oppressed, where a people has been oppressed so long that when they finally get a little breathing room, they take on the characteristics of the people who were dogging them out for decades.
I talk to my husband. We talk about that all the time. We've taken on that culture, and we wonder what did happen to us. How did we get in this predicament? Because you took on a different culture.
Even down to not checking your children.
Yep, exactly.
I was having that conversation yesterday. My father said, "I brought you in this world and I will take you out." But now it's, time out.
Right.
Time out.
But when you say call 911, see, that's what started happening to our parental rights. When you took our parental rights, when you told our children, if your parent is chastising you, to call 911. That wasn't abuse. That was, and now they call it neglect abuse. But now they want to chastise our children by building more juvenile justice, give them time, charge them as an adult. You know, that's the beast.
And then
But
black mothers going on TV.
now
Black
rights
mother.
away and now telling us, oh, the parents, it started home. The parents need to be, fine. The parents need to now,
And also black mothers going on white television and saying, I don't know what to do with my child. Not a good move. That's just like calling the police on your relative who's having a mental health emergency.
Mm-hmm.
You know they're going to shoot them.
Right.
Why are you trusting a system that has never been for you?
Exactly. That's
we
why
forgot how to love each other. You know what's wrong with that boy. You know that boy just need a hug. You know what happened to that girl. You know what happened to her in her own family.
Doni, me and my husband, my husband is a pastor, and he was, when we was down First Ave, and it's one of the things that he had created, he took us into juvenile justice, right? And on Sundays, when we would go in here with these kids, these boys, and just like you talking about the love, so many of them are missing that love, to be able to sit down, these kids be in tears, by the time we would leave there. And it's just somebody showing care.
City jail? Central booking?
No, this was juvenile justice.
Okay. Gay Street, baby booking?
Yes. But showing love. And this is all these kids really need now. Discipline.
Because they never got it at home. If your mother never gave you a hug, what the hell do you expect? If your daddy was never there, everybody need love.
Exactly. And that's all they cry. The streets giving them love. And that's where they've gone, to the streets. But we got to take our babies back. And the church got to step up and do what they were supposed to do.
Instead of being cute. I go up in the church. I ain't going to say the preacher's name, but he was real famous. I interviewed him, and he sat me down right there to listen to. He said, you going to stay for church? I said, I sure will. No sooner as he walked away, an usher came up to me and said, you can't sit there. I'm like, damn, the pastor just set me here. You can't sit there. Church people, stop chasing people out of church.
And start trying to be popular. They want to be stars, celebrities now. And not only that, they running after the money. They're running to the politicians now for money so that they can do development. That they can have control over this land and what goes on in the land.
Church I grew up in, I ain't gonna tell you the name, but directly across the street from the church is a big old house that's falling down. And I'm saying I cannot be the only one that comes out this front door and see this church. Why don't you buy that building and fix it? It's just across the street from your church.
I said the same thing about that one that fell. That old building that was on, I think, Lafayette. Is it Lafayette? Or Landville? One of them right across the street from church, from the square.
That's down the street from you.
Yeah, that was a historic building. Right across the street from the square, right next to that senior building.
White people are moving into these neighborhoods, but we want to move out.
Because of the media. The media projects that image.
That's a beautiful neighborhood you're talking about.
We have to stop looking at the media and letting the media dictate to us, what's going on, and making us too fearful, to live in our neighborhoods where our young families think in order to save their families, to raise their boys, they have to leave the city. No, we have to take our city control back.
We go out to the county and buy these $300,000 prefabs, and they're not even worth it.
No, they're not.
Poor quality. But we want to live in Owen my arm and my leg mills or Vandalstown or Hoodlawn. Sorry, Baltimore County. I had to swing on you. Plus, y'all don't pay the water bills we pay. How your water bill these days?
Tripled, and that's something I could not understand. And I really got angry when Rawlins Blake did that to us. But how do you go from a quarter?
And she get a civil rights award. Who gave her a civil rights award? I'm sorry.
Look, when you go back and you do the report card, when you go back and see all of the things, that evaluate what they have done and the more harm and things that they did or did what they didn't do, it that's enough right there to make us should want to make sure that whoever, comes after them, that we do some background checks first. That we want to see some history. We want to see some work that you've done for free. We want to see something that you've actually done that profited or benefited, your neighborhood. We want to see some things. We don't want to wait and get you in the office and pay you, give you a salary, and then start seeing what kind of work you can do. Show something that you've already done. Show us something where you people can even know that you exist. Because there's too many of them. Once you get in here, the neighborhoods that you serve don't even know your name. Don't, if you show them a picture, wouldn't even be able to recognize you as their leader.
I thought you talking about that guy running for mayor that nobody would recognize him if you walk down the street. But I'm talking smack now. How you gonna run for mayor and nobody know what you look like? Maybe, I've thought about running for politics, but I just want to run my business. I'm a businessman. I like making money. And too many of them get into politics. They thought they want to be a politician. Now they working deals and going to jail. I mean, how do you go in the office and then you get locked up? What the hell were they doing? Ms. Eaddy, I'm proud of you.
Culture.
I am proud of you, Ms. Eaddy. I'm proud to learn of your son, and big ups to your pastor husband. And make sure you come back before this election gets started. The election, when the voting starts? Next week?
Yep.
Early voting?
Yep, May the 2nd.
All right, well, you got to come back on here on this show because you have been a breath of fresh air.
Thank you, Donnie. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. Up to date, down tomorrow. Do your day and everything will follow. Nothing to it but to do it. I got to do it regardless of how I feel. I am somebody. I am my brother's keeper. Good afternoon, world.